Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, just welcome in general. My name is Amanda and I'm a very small reseller and I sell on eBay and as of recently also Niknax, which is a new marketplace hosted on District by Jocelyn, the crazy lamp lady. If you haven't heard of it or checked it out, a link to it is in the video description as well as on my channel page. My eBay store is also on there. Feel free to go over and check them out. Take a look around. You don't have to buy anything. Feel free to just go check it out. I have some more stuff that I've gotten ready and photographed and everything. I'm getting ready to start listing it on eBay and or Niknax. I'm not 100% sure on any of them. If you have a feeling something should go on one or the other, certainly drop it in the comments and let me know. And I do have one item returning from a previous video that I'm going to show you guys real quick here because I'll finally be able to, I think, get it listed. So let's get started. First thing I wanted to show you guys, featured, well, maybe not featured, shown in a previous video is the, what is it? The Coleman 220F lantern, green lantern. He's got the Pyrex sort of wavy glass in here. These were made between 1964 and 73 and they go for a decent amount of money. I will put some screenshots up here. On average, one's in this condition, and it does have the box in beat up condition, but okay, and it's still there. But ones like this in gently used to new condition sell anywhere for the most part 120 to 150 on average. I wanted to bring this guy back out and show him to you again because I got his kerosene out. Yep. So I was able to take off this little screw cap part here. I was able to get that off finally. So you have to remove this screw and then unscrew this. And then there's like a little gold sort of cap-like piece in there. And it had adhered to the other piece. So I had taken this part off before, honestly. But that gold piece was there and I couldn't get it off. Or I'm sure it's brass or something. But I couldn't get it off. And so I just thought, maybe it doesn't come off. I didn't want to pry it off. But if there's something a lot of rural men will know about, it's things like this. So my brother was over and I asked him to take a look at it gently take a look at it because I was prepared to light it to burn it off like someone had suggested. That sounded like a awesome video, I'll be honest. But then I thought too, if I light it, is it gonna singe or soot or I don't know. And I just thought I'm gonna go that route if I have to, but the least potential damaging route to the piece was ideal. And so long story short, he was able to get that piece off and then he had fun lighting a large bonfire with it, because again, if there's one thing rural folk do well, it's light things on fire. But anyways, I'm gonna be getting this listed now. I've got photos taken of it and I'm ready to have this guy find a new home. If I was smart, I'd probably honestly keep it because probably gonna be needing it sooner than later, honestly. Let's be real. But anyways, I think I'll list it at $145 or best offer and see what happens with it. You know, hopefully it pulls in the $145. It's in really, you know, good condition. It has some minor flaws on it. Some of the enamel on there like that, you know, so it's got like that. You can definitely see, you know, it was used. I don't think terribly frequently or much, but it was used. You can see some of the remnants of being used. But I wanted to show you guys this part, and I don't know how well you'll be able to see it, but it says 10 model 220F, 228F, and then over here it says 64. And it was made at Coleman, Wichita, Kansas. How fun is that? And this came out of a very rural area of Kansas in like it wasn't a barn, but it was like a barn-shaped old shed. Yeah. Very cool. I really actually do love it. Even as decor or for use, I really do love it. I think it's just that classic Americana, right? You know, it's I don't know. I like it. I like it a lot. Okay, so the next piece I have to show you guys, this is not a pricey item. This is not an expensive item. This is some of the very common sort of pink, I would say depression glass, but I think this is actually a hand blown piece. You can see obviously the optic. It's not really ribbed, but it's definitely a swirl optic you can see there. So it's really neat, but I don't know if the camera will show you this or not really. But when you're looking at it with the naked eye, you can see like the twist in the glass. And I don't mean this obvious optic stuff. I just mean in the glass itself, like the little waves in the glass, you know? It's very, very thin, extremely delicate feeling glass. It's got this ruffled edge to the top. And I know not a gosh dang one of y'all are gonna believe me, but there are no chips or cracks to any flippin' part of this thing. Wild. I know. How does that happen? I don't know. But it flippin' did, and I was ecstatic about that. Now, when I say ecstatic, what do I mean by that? Like, oh my gosh, I hit a jackpot. Yay. Lots of money. No. I do believe it to be a hand-blown piece. It does have a polished bottom. There's no kick up in the base, which you would see with glass like wine bottles, ales, things like that, even juices and stuff, things that would have sediment in them that, you know, it would separate out the sediment in the bottom. Okay, so it is sort of indented in here, like it's been smoothed and polished out. But again, just looking at the glass itself, it just has that blown feel to it. There's no seams on it as well, which is, you know, an indication it was not mold formed. With molds, you're going to see mold lines, especially in depression glass. They got seam and straw marks like crazy, and that's something this piece doesn't have. That being said, this is definitely a depression glass pink, at least. That leads me to believe it is likely from that time frame, 20s to 40s, something like that. I don't know. If you do, put it in the comments. Correct me. I'm not saying this is what it is. This is what my gut feeling for it is. And sometimes that's all I got. Sometimes that's all I've got for you, is just what my gut tells me the piece is. And I feel like it's probably in that 20s to 40s range. Like I said, it's very lightweight. I think it weighed 3 ounces. Very thin, very delicate, very pretty, but not signed that I can see anyway. Not impressed or signed in any way. But is this a valuable piece? No, it is not. Now, granted, I couldn't actually find any comps of ones just like it. And I don't know if this was mass production or if this was, I don't know who made it. I venture to think it is American made, most likely, but I have no proof of this fact. but I feel like it probably is American made, but I don't know who would have made it. I don't think Anchor Hawken, they generally didn't really do pieces like this, in similar places. Not the thin, delicate, hand-blown stuff. Same thing with Indiana and all those. That did a lot of the pressed glass, carnival glass, and all that kind of stuff. So if it was done by one of the glass houses, I would think it would be one of the more elegant ones. But even they really didn't do a ton of hand-blown. So I don't know who made it, and I don't even really honestly know where to really look outside of the main glass houses. So any ideas would be great. Here is a sold comp for one that's similar but is larger than this. This one here was about 3.5 inch diameter and 4 inches tall. The comp here is for one that is 8 inches tall, I believe. But granted, I imagine this would still get somewhere around that same price. I think that the likely going rate on this is probably give or take $12, somewheres in there. I could be surprised. I'd love to know your guys' input on it. Something just tells me it's very cool. It's very pretty. I don't know what color it's looking like to you guys, but it's in person. It kind of varies from that like real soft peach to that very light pale depression glass pink. I don't see any bubbles in it or really any defect in the glass. Well, there's one little bubble or something. One teeny tiny bubble, like not even a millimeter long. Anyway, it's a cool piece. It's a really cool little decorative piece. But again, is it super valuable? I doubt it. I have a gut feeling it may at max go for $16. I don't know. I think for me, I would plan on listing it somewhere between 12 and 16 and see what happens with it. I put or best offer on everything I list. I kind of price it for ideally what I'd like to get, and I'm prepared to go lower on my items. I do my best to price it as appropriate as possible so that hopefully people don't feel like they have to send an offer. Hopefully they feel comfortable with it. Granted, I am nobody to fault anybody for wanting to get a deal. It comes with the territory, right? So anyways, a cool little, I'm sure vintage, if not antique piece. So, but if anybody has any info on it, definitely let me know. All right, guys, I'm going to do my best with this one. I am not terribly experienced in this, but this here is potentially from the 18th century. I don't know how to exactly date it, but every reference I have found on these, it says that they generally were made in the 18th, 19th, and 20th century. I mean, this one looks fairly patinaed and everything. I don't know. When I hold it in my hand and look at it, I feel like it's an older piece, but how old, I will not say. I do not know. I would feel like putting antique, vintage on the listing would maybe be appropriate. I do feel like antique is a very strong possibility for what it is. If you're ready for me to tell you what the heck this is, I will. I know I'm not going to pronounce this correctly, so I'm going to put it right here so that you guys can see. I believe that this is the Indian word for like foot scrubber. This is a cast bronze, I believe, little elephant sculpture, and he has on the inside of here, I don't know if you'll really be able to see them, but you can probably hear it. There's like little metal balls, or sometimes they put pebbles or rocks of some kind inside of here. And then on the base, it's kind of this, I mean, at this point, it's soft ridges. I don't know if originally they would have been a little bit more rigid. I don't know. But, rough, because this is actually a foot scrubber. Ideally, you would want something that would scrub your feet, right? So, I guess kind of the story that I'm getting from research and stuff on these is that they were made in India. I will put some examples up here of a few pictures, and here's I feel like a decent enough website from, that sells a lot of Indian art and things like that, and the information in here is similar to identical to what I have found on any other site or whatnot that I have been able to find info on this. But basically what this is saying is that these were created anywhere in the 18th, 19th, and 20th century. They were used during bathing and to scrub the feet. I believe mostly women, I think, primarily use these. And it has little jingle balls in them. And the thought is that, you know, communal bathing, from what I understand, they think that the little pebbles or metal balls that are put in here were intended to make noise while it was being used because it was a communal bath. And so this is to help ward off or at least alert anybody who may be coming into the vicinity, you know, modesty thing, right? I feel like I got this probably as an extra in a lot at an estate sale. And it took me a little bit to kind of really actually figure out what the heck it was. It's kind of this small little teardrop or almost iron shape. And I'm not terribly sure. I think those are little metal ball bearings in there is what they look like little maybe iron ball bearings. But really cool. And you can tell this is not likely like sculpted by hand. You can see like little mold seam marks on them occasionally. So this thing, it was a cast piece. So, and I found a sold example on eBay, and I don't remember off the top of my head if it was a buy it now or an auction, but regardless, it was like a $5 thing. And, you know, the information I found on these, and I don't know how to determine accurately where in the region to set this, but, you know, these are listed on eBay, Etsy, and other platforms, well, not even platforms, just websites that sell Asian antiques, Indian antiques, just antiques in general, and they're more kind of bigger websites, and they have them listed for a lot more than $5. So anyway, given that I don't have any actual sold comps to compare it with, really only active listings, I don't know where it would sit, but I feel like it's a pretty cool piece. I do feel like it's an old piece. But again, I can't say for sure if it's 18th, 19th, or even 20th century. So I don't know where to price it at that would actually be appropriate. You certainly hate to put $20 on something that you should be listing for $300, $500, whatever that number is. That's always a gut punch, right? You know, like that's certainly not the intended thing. It happens though, happens to the best of us because we don't know everything and there's no way for us to. So you win some, you lose some, folks. And that could be one of them. So I'm kind of feeling like maybe put them, I don't know, put them on auction, but I hate to do that. Maybe I will just, you know, I've heard other resellers say this, like, I think like Cat the Nurse Flipper and stuff like that. Oh, and what's her name? Texas Gal Treasures. Is that right? Gosh darn it. Anyways, talk about how if you have a piece that you just have a gut feeling is maybe potentially worth a little bit more than whatever comps, if any, you're finding, and you're just not sure where to put it, put a high price on it. You never know, and you can always bring the price down, right? So throw it out there for $400. It may look ridiculous to some people, but hey, after a while, if nobody sends you an offer and nobody's, you know, showing interest in it, nobody's even viewing it, well, that tells you maybe it's overpriced and lower it down. But it's a lot easier to do that than it is to wish you would have done more, you know? So I have no idea what I'll list it at. A part of me wants to just put it to auction because as much as I agree with that sentiment of just throwing it up there for a number, and I may wind up doing that, I hate to do that. I just hate to do that. I hate to have stuff in my store that just looks out of place, or where people will say, are you serious? You know? So I just hate to do that. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. There's always going to be something that somebody says, oh, that's not right price or whatever. You know, it's going to happen. But man, I really hate to be that far off, right? I don't know. This next one here, guys, I think is just gorgeous. But this one here is certainly porcelain. And you can see down in there, there's a little mild staining down there, but this here is RH, and then it says made in Austria here. And this is Robert Hankey, and I believe he was a Czech artist. Based on the mark, this was produced, I believe, from 1900 to 1918, I think, is when that mark was used. Certainly correct me if I'm wrong, but if you do that, you're gonna have to write the covels, because, all right, so this is, of course they gotta put shiny stuff on there. This is Koval's New Dictionary of Marks, and my copy of this, oh, let's see, my copy is copyright 1986. So while it says new marks, they are vintage and older marks, that's for sure. But down here on page 112, you can see the Robert Hankey mark there. And I mean, I don't think I have to tell you guys, this is freaking gorgeous. I mean, I love it. It's got that very Rococo, Baroque, you know, I'm not sure which way you'd really want to go on that. Almost Art Nouveau flair to it. And I mean, this is all hand painted, believe it or not. And even this, I'm assuming is a glaze, but this might be like an enamel actually. This isn't dot matrix on here, like, you know, from transfer print. That is like tiny air bubbles in it, which makes me think maybe enamel. And if you see how kind of flat this paint here is, but then this is raised up more Moriage style or slip trail style, you know, so that makes me think those are enamel, and they feel raised too. You can definitely feel it. And then it's got all the gold hand painted accent. I'm sorry guys, I know I know the light kind of drowns it out, but I mean, it is just this beautiful like blush pink and cream, and I don't know what all them flowers are exactly on there. These look like daisies, maybe irises. I don't know. I feel like I'm onto something with that. Are these wisteria? Is that, am I getting it? But regardless, absolutely gorgeous. Stunningly beautiful. Kind of a bipedal foot thing going on here. So when you go on eBay and you look up sold comps, and if you just search like antique Austrian porcelain or, you know, Austria porcelain, whatever, you'll come up with a whole bunch of stuff and a lot of really large numbers. But I like to, if a piece is marked and I can narrow it down to more specifically who made it and when, then I like to try to find comps specifically to that, if at all possible. I feel like this is a hand-painted piece. It is gorgeous. It feels delicate. It feels high-end. And, you know, there's no damage to it. I feel like there's maybe the ever so slightest possibly flea bite on the rim. And I can't even honestly say that. It honestly, I don't know. Because you certainly don't see any chips or cracks or anything. There's no crazing on it. There's no nothing. It is just flipping gorgeous. And I love it. And I'm tempted to keep it just because of how pretty it is. But I'll be honest, guys, most of my decor is not this beautiful. It's just not. My decor is a little more like old phonographs and, I don't know. It's just a little more, what would you say, maybe rustic than this. But I can't get over it. It's beautiful. But it deserves to be in somebody's collection or displayed somewhere, somehow. That makes it stand out for what it is. What is it? It's a basket. It's a little porcelain basket. It's more or less decorative, but you can use it as like a small vase or, you know, any kind of decorative holder. You could do a lot with it. You could put little fairy lights in it. I don't know. Would that look cool? I don't know. It's just faintly translucent, but outside of the staining in the bottom, I really just can't find damage on it. Shockingly. I think right now my plan is to put it on auction. I think so. And I don't know what I would put the starting bid at, because I feel like putting it, like I'd love to put it at $4 or $6 or something and just let it ride, see what happens, you know, live on the wild side. But this dang thing has no damage. This is like, I have glitter on me. None of y'all told me, right? I had glitter this whole time. But, yeah, I feel like putting it on auction, letting it ride. Go for it, you know? But I'm also so terrified to do that. So terrified to do that. And I hate to put it on auction and start it, you know, at $30 because, well, that's just not as likely to really draw people. I'm just going to be honest with you. When I'm looking at auctions, I don't like starting bids of $30. I just don't. If it winds up going that far, that's a different story. But to start it at that, it's like, give me a chance, man. You know, what if I could get it for less, right? You know, so I hate to start things higher, honestly, than $10, really, generally. But you take a risk. You take a huge risk. Sometimes your pieces will sell much higher than you anticipated, and sometimes they'll sell for maybe about where you thought. And a lot of times you gotta, the rule of thumb often that's given is put the starting bid for the least amount you would accept. And I don't know, I guess it just depends on how dangerous do you feel. How dangerous do you want to go here? I think that's really what it'll come down to as far as figuring out, do you really want to price it at $6 hoping it sells a lot higher? I don't know. I don't know truly what the actual amount would be for this. And I know going to, you know, like Dr. Lori, and I do have a piece that was evaluated by Dr. Lori, and I will talk about that in another video. I've been holding off on it, saving it for a special occasion. But I would love to be able to go to Dr. Lori for every little thing, but oh my gosh, I adore Dr. Lori, but I couldn't afford her for every little thing. And so sadly, unless you can afford to have like an appraiser on staff, or, you know, become even a self-appointed appraiser, at least where you feel comfortable with that sort of thing, you know, like I can't afford that. I don't know. But I have had Dr. Lori evaluate a piece because it's an art piece, and I didn't know what to think of it value-wise. So I'll show that to you guys in another video. I want everybody to prepare themselves for this devastating heartbreak right now, okay? It's going to be a hard, really rough one to witness, and viewer discretion is advised, okay? I will preface this with that warning. It's no blood or gore, hopefully. But I think those of us who love things like this will probably all have a moment of silence, possibly shed a tear, and I want you to know that that is okay, okay? So this is a beautiful flow blue, like planter, and if you haven't noticed already, he has a little damage. Now, I got him this way. He came extra in a lot, and I'm sure they threw him in the lot because of the damage. Do any of you guys recognize who may have made this? Just by looking at it? It is beautiful. And I know the light is, I'm sorry, kind of washing it out a little bit. But it's like a delicate cream color with this kind of sponged gold on here and these blue. What would those be? Are those irises? I'm not sure. I think iris, right? I don't know. Obviously, I don't know my flowers, but I feel like I get them pretty right some of the time. This is a Dalton Porcelain. So this mark was used from 1886 to 1890. It has crazing, it has hairline cracks, and it has a little bite out of it on the side of the rim there. It otherwise appears to be in good condition, outside of those devastating, heartbreaking flaws. This is a heavy piece too. It's just under 2 pounds. I find that a lot of English porcelain and pottery pieces tend to be a little weightier. Very different than like Japan pieces. Glaze also on them, I find, has a huge tendency to be crazed. So it's always super exciting when you can find them without the crazing on it, because for me at least, it seems pretty rare. I don't know what your guys' experiences with pieces like this are, but you know, it's one of those pieces that it's so flippin' beautiful, and you can, you know, obviously turn it the other way, have it maybe on a slightly higher shelf so that the other side of the rim isn't as noticeable, and it's still an absolutely gorgeous, beautiful piece. And so, you know, just the lover of these antique, gorgeous pieces that I am, I just, this wouldn't make me throw it away. It makes it harder for me to want to resell it, however. And I've thought about putting it on auction, and, you know, obviously very in detail disclosing the defects on it, of course. But letting collectors maybe decide what that is worth to them, you know, because, and I'll put some comps up here. They're not this specific piece, but I just want to show you examples of these Doulton Burslem antique pieces and the kinds of values that they can bring for different things. And so it's kind of a good one to be somewhat familiar with and recognize the mark, which is not hard. It literally says Doulton Burslem on it, so it's a pretty easy one to remember. But you know, scroll through and look at comps every once in a while, and active listings, see what all is going on, because this is, if you can find these in good condition, these can sell for really good money. And it is another case too on eBay where you'll find ones in good condition that sell for, in my opinion, far below what they probably should, in all honesty. And it's unfortunate, and maybe I'm wrong, but you know, I just feel like, especially if it's not damaged, these should sell for decent money, if not a good amount, you know, a higher number. I'm a sucker for antique, beautiful pieces like this. You know, it's not that Doulton Burslem is super rare, and if you were in England, they sell these pieces for like nothing, like it's nothing, because it is so rampant over there where it was produced originally. So it's a lot like, you know, pottery and porcelain and stuff firms here that in other countries maybe would go for a lot more than we appreciate or value it here for. But I just, oh my word, I love it. So I don't know, I'm curious what you guys think I should do with it. These here are vintage Japan vases, and they have these transfer print. I see a lot of, you know, hand painted written with these, and they are hand painted a little bit. Some of the like enamel slip trail work that you can feel with your hand on here, that is hand painted, but the actual design of it is in fact transfer print. And then I don't know if you guys will be able to tell, but things like this right here on his chest, that is, it feels slightly raised. The white on the flowers feels slightly raised. Most of it is the white. There's a little bit of the green. You might be able to tell with the leaves here. And it kind of has that sort of enamel, thick slip trail kind of look to it. So it's a sort of Moriage style, slightly. Moriage is a little bit thicker, like it stands up a little bit more off the piece usually. This one is just very faint. I think these are really pretty, and I think that people who decorate in this sort of style, this like Asian Oriental motif, or just even mid-century sort of motif, I think these are really cool. You can find this similar pattern design and stuff on everything from teapots, vases, candlestick holders, wall pockets, you name it. Like it's everywhere. It was a very popular design. So, or style, maybe I should say. It is very mid-century. I really couldn't find too much in the way of this like maroon or red You know, I even tried searching purple, like knowing probably purple wasn't a color like possibility, but I searched it every which way I could think of, and I really couldn't find too many in this maroon-like color. It was either cream or cobalt, I think, primarily. A lot of Satsuma pieces came up and stuff, and I'm not sure exactly what this style would be called. If you know, please drop it in the comments. Let me know. That'd be awesome. I would venture to say seeing them listed anywhere between $30 and $50 would probably be an appropriate listing amount. What it would sell for, I would think could be in that, but could be a little bit lower. You know, if they're in very good condition. And these ones are. There's no chips, there's no cracks, there's no crazing on them. And they just look super cool. And they're identical matching vases. Okay, guys. This one here is a Shorebird. It is, I don't want to say hand carved. I don't know that it was hand carved. It may have been hand made with like a rotary tool or something like that would be my guess. If it wasn't like a bought, you know, like in the craft stores and they'll have pre-made wood pieces. That's always possible too. It's not signed. It is hand painted. It's in that sort of primitive folk arty style. It's a Shorebird though, and I'm going to show you guys some examples of comps for Shorebirds, okay? Generally, if you can see, this guy is pretty narrow. I believe he was a 1/4 inch wide, and he's very cute. He's very country. He's, you know, I like him. I think he's adorable. He's a likely hobbyist piece. If he wasn't mass produced and sold, that's always possible. If you guys know, again, please put it in the comments. As far as I can tell, though, he looks hand-painted. I would venture to say he's a hobbyist piece, would be my guess. But I don't know what the actual resale on this would be. I think that this one here, being this thin little bird, would be, I don't know, $15 to $30. Maybe less, maybe more. I don't know. Let me know your guys' thoughts on what you think it'll land at. In sold listings and everything, when you search for wood Shorebirds, you know, however you search it, the high dollar ones are not these thin country style hobbyist piece. They're just not. The high end ones are usually more decoy looking. They're more realistic looking. So they're usually not a 1/4 inch wide. They're usually like full bird size, you know, like they made the full bird, you know? So it's much more decoy looking, much more realistic looking, much more artisan looking. And I think, while I don't have a lot of experience in it, but looking through sold comps, I think that would be my recommendation, is if you come across things like this, look for the ones that look handmade, artisan. Usually the more artsy, the better. I would also recommend looking for signatures. Off the top of my head, I don't know the big names on Shorebirds. If anybody does, drop some examples below. But I would look for signatures on it also. All right, last piece for you guys tonight. This one here is handmade, and the bottom says made by Ben Rothgeber. It's Rathgeber. And then it has the address, I'm assuming his address, in 1987. So this here is a hand carved, and I'm not sure of the wood. I meant to look that up before I did the video, and I forgot to. So I don't know. If you know, put it in the comments. But I don't know. It's very lightweight. It's very lightweight wood. It's a light stain on it. It looks well made. It feels well made, well constructed. It does have, unfortunately, one little chip off the tip here. Not large, and honestly, if it was me, I would put Old English on it, let that kind of stain it a little bit, like the light wood Old English, and it would at least be far less noticeable. Anyway, I could do that, but I don't want to hide the fact that it has this, and so the fact that this is lighter right here makes that stand out better in the photos. And that's an easy thing that anybody can do, whether they use a little bit of stain or Old English or however they go about it. That's an easy enough thing to cover up, basically. But I don't want to cover it up because I I want whoever buys it to see it and be fully aware of it. So that's why I haven't done anything with it. But this is and don't make fun of my candle. I know it's dirt. Maybe you guys can't tell it's dirty. I can't see it in the camera. Anyway, it is dirty. There's some dirt. There you go. So it is dirty, but it's an old taper candle, and I don't have any others. So this is, you get the dirty candle. Okay, sorry about that. But it's a taper candle holder. I only have one. It came extra in a lot. I don't know. I have no clue what the value on this would be. No idea at all. It is handmade. It is vintage, technically. I'm tossing around the idea of putting these together, even though they don't, like, match necessarily, but I don't know. They're kind of the same vibe, right? I don't know. Thoughts on separate, together? Okay, guys. I think that's it for this one. I again just want to take a moment to thank any and all of you that watch my video or videos, you know, to the end. That is great. You know, it helps the channel and stuff, but it also just means something to me in a way that, you know, I'm putting out, at least in some degree, some form, you know, if nothing else, entertainment, right? Like, this is a full show, right? You know, but I want to let you guys know just how much it means to me, you know, interacting with you guys in the comments and everybody who's sharing opinions and information on things, and, you know, whether it's on items or just reselling information or whatever. And that was the whole idea behind my channel when I started it, was to make it a channel that both resellers and collectors, buyers, you know, whatever, just people who appreciate vintage and antique things could all watch. Again, I appreciate anybody who puts up with it and still watches. It is appreciated, guys. I did want to let you guys know that this morning I noticed I hit 200 subscribers, and I was ecstatic about it. I couldn't believe that, you know, 200 people, and it's a little bit more now, I think, but, you know, I couldn't believe that 200 people have subscribed to my videos. I know nothing about making videos. If you thought I did, I got you good. But in all fairness, in my very first video, I did say I've never done this before. So, you know, it's not false advertising that way. You know, I genuinely enjoy doing the videos. I know not everything that I show is some high dollar, you know, crazy collectible, oh my gosh piece. And I know that, but a lot of what I show is, you know, common to some degree, things that a lot of you guys may come across, whether that's just out antique or thrift store shopping, or whether that's outsourcing stuff. You know, a lot of stuff that I have has come as extras in lots that I've gotten for very inexpensive lots that have come with large amounts of stuff. Some pieces in them that were extras have turned out to be really like gems, you know, like that Bavarian naughty lady powder dish with her legs showing that was in my last video. You know, that was an extra in a lot, and she's actually quite valuable, which is great. But was I originally going for her in the lot? No, actually not really, because you couldn't even tell if she had any damage to her, of course, you know, in the photo. They only had a couple photos, and they're not in auctions. They're generally not zooming in on things or showing you the damage. If you're looking at an individual piece, not a lot of something, but just like a piece of furniture or you know, one piece of porcelain or something, they'll sometimes zoom in and show you the little flaws and things like that, but not always. So, you know, it's hard to tell. So that honestly wasn't the piece I was going for. And I don't even remember what it was now in that specific lot that I was going for. I do remember her though. I do remember her. She's not back there anymore. I'm pointing like she's still sitting there. She's not. She's upstairs now. She's in her safe room upstairs until she is eventually sold. And I haven't listed her yet. I'm going to get that done. I really just want to thank every single one of you guys. It's a lot of fun doing these videos for you guys, showing you the things that I'm going to be listing, or, you know, even if it's to some degree just more of a vlog, just talking about shenanigans one way or the other. But I enjoy interacting with you guys, and I appreciate you guys watching, and it means a lot. I hope your holidays were really good. We have, I guess the New Year holiday coming up. I'm generally these days quite boring for such an event, but for all of you guys that are going to be going out and about, be safe and have fun. I will probably put out another video, so I don't want this to sound like my last one till after New Year's, but happy holidays, guys. I'll see you guys on the next one.